Dust motes danced in the afternoon sunlight, filtering through the grime-coated windows. The old house creaked and groaned around me, a symphony of settling floorboards and groaning pipes. It was a fixer-upper, to put it mildly. We, being the overly optimistic couple we were, saw potential. Mark was busy hacking away at the kitchen walls, prepping them for conversion into our new master bedroom. I, on the other hand, had taken on the less glamorous but strangely satisfying task of stripping off layers of the past. The wallpaper. The previous owner must have been obsessed with the stuff. Every single wall, and yes, even the ceilings, were covered in a hideous floral monstrosity. The satisfaction that came with getting a good rip going, that long, continuous peel that felt like peeling a sunburn, was weirdly addictive. It was a game, the hunt for the longest, most satisfying tear. But the game took a dark turn when I started noticing something peculiar. Underneath each corner of peeled wallpaper in every room was a scrawled inscription, a name and a date. Curiosity gnawed at me. Grabbing my phone, I Googled the first name, Agnes Miller, 1947. My blood ran cold. An old news article popped up, the headline screaming, "Local woman Agnes Miller vanishes without a trace." The date etched under the wallpaper matched the date of her disappearance. Panic clawed at my throat. There were more names, more dates. Each one, upon investigation, led to a news article about a missing person. The weight of the situation settled on me like a shroud. I couldn't keep this to myself. Mark walked in, his face smeared with sawdust. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost," I told him, my voice trembling, about the names and the dates, about the chilling realization that dawned on me. He didn't believe me at first. "Come on, babe, this is an old house. People probably just wrote their names and the date they moved in." But a flicker of uncertainty flickered in his eyes. I shoved my phone in his face, showing him the news articles. His jaw dropped. We knew there and then this wasn't some bizarre coincidence. We called the police. A shiver ran down my spine as a team of officers swarmed the house. They scurried from room to room, their faces grim as they photographed the names and dates. I found myself hovering around one of the officers, a young woman with a serious expression. "What does this mean?" I whispered, my voice barely above a squeak. She shook her head, her gaze flickering to a pile of rolled-up wallpaper I hadn't noticed before. "We'll figure it out, ma'am. But these names—" She trailed off, a haunted look in her eyes. They collected the wallpaper and whisked it away. The house felt oddly empty without the investigators milling around. We sat in stunned silence on the creaking floorboards of the gutted kitchen, the weight of the discovery pressing down on us. Suddenly, a noise from the basement sent a jolt through me. Mark and I exchanged a nervous glance. Neither of us had bothered venturing down there yet. It was a dark, dank space that reeked of damp earth. But the sound, a muffled thump, was undeniable. "We should check it out," Mark said, but his voice lacked conviction. My heart hammered a frantic rhythm against my ribs. "Are you sure?" He offered a watery smile. Together, of course. We grabbed a flashlight and cautiously descended the creaking stairs. The air down there was thick and stagnant, carrying a musky smell that made my nose wrinkle. The flickering beam of the flashlight bounced off cobwebs and dusty clutter. The source of the noise remained a mystery. Then another sound, a whisper, cold and brittle, that seemed to slither along the stone walls. "Don't peel," it rasped. Mark and I lurched back, fear gripping us like a vice. "Did you hear that?" I whispered. Mark's hand tightened around mine. "Yeah, let's just get out of here." Just as we reached the bottom step, the light flickered and died, plunging us into complete darkness. Panic surged through me. I felt a presence close by, a cold breath tickling the back of my neck. "Don't peel," the voice echoed again, closer this time, tinged with a chilling malice. We scrambled up the stairs, my scream lost in the suffocating darkness. We burst into the relative safety of the living room, gasping for breath. The room seemed different, darker, colder, as if the shadows themselves had shifted. "What was that?" Mark choked. We huddled together in the center of the living room, bathed in an unsettling twilight. The absence of the basement light plunged the house into an oppressive darkness. The power must have cut out during our panicked escape. My heart hammered a frantic tattoo against my ribs. The chilling whispers from the basement echoed in my mind, each repetition more menacing than the last. "Don't peel!" The words hung heavy in the air, a dark promise of something sinister lurking just beyond the veil of darkness. "We need to call the police," I said, my voice trembling. But as I reached for my phone, the realization hit me. No signal. Mark rummaged in his pocket, his face grim. "Mine's dead too." Trapped. We were trapped in this house with whatever lurked in the depths of the basement. Fear twisted in my gut, constricting my lungs. Suddenly, a scratching sound arose from behind the wallpaper in the corner. It was faint at first, but it grew louder, more insistent, turning into a frantic clawing. My gaze darted to the wall, a prickling sensation crawling up my neck. The floral monstrosity seemed to writhe and pulsate in the dim light. "Don't look at it," Mark hissed, pulling me away from the wall. The clawing intensified, accompanied by muffled groans and whispers. An overwhelming stench of decay filled the air, making me gag. It was like all the horrors trapped beneath the wallpaper were desperate to break free. A horrifying realization dawned on me. The wallpaper wasn't wallpaper at all. It was skin. Layers upon layers of human skin, stretched and dried, used to adorn the walls of this monstrous house. Tears welled up in my eyes. The names and dates. They weren't mere coincidences. They were the trapped souls, forever silenced and bound to this place. The scratching reached a crescendo, a piece of the macabre tapestry peeling back to reveal a sliver of raw, bloody flesh beneath. Through the gap, a single, sightless eye stared out at us, filled with a chilling desperation. "Help us!" a voice rasped, a collective murmur that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. Mark let out a choked sob. This wasn't something we could fight, not with our bare hands. The weight of the situation, the sheer horror of it all, threatened to crush me. Then from the inky depths of the basement came a new sound. A low, guttural growl that echoed through the house, sending shivers down my spine. The whispers ceased, replaced by a terrified silence. The scratching stopped abruptly. The growl grew louder, closer. Something was ascending the stairs. Panic seized me. We couldn't stay here. We had to get out. Mark, fueled by adrenaline, yanked open the front door. A blast of cool night air washed over us. We didn't hesitate. We bolted into the darkness, the house and its horrors receding behind us. We ran. Across the overgrown lawn, down the dusty road, not stopping until our lungs burned and our legs screamed in protest. Finally, we stumbled to a halt amidst the trees, gasping for breath. The house stood in the distance, a shadowy silhouette against the star-dusted night sky. A light flickered on briefly in an upstairs window, then darkness consumed it once more. "We need to get help," Mark said, his voice raspy. But the question hung heavy in the air. What kind of help does one even call for in a situation like this? We knew the police wouldn't believe the story of a house made of skin, the whispers from the walls, the monstrous entity lurking within. We spent the night huddled together under a thin blanket, fear our only companion. The rising sun brought a sliver of hope, but the horrors of the night clung to us like a second skin. We knew we couldn't just walk away. The trapped souls, the entity, they wouldn't stay confined to that house forever. Mark and I exchanged a determined look. We had to find someone who would believe us, someone who could help us face the horror we had unleashed. It would be a long journey, one fraught with danger and uncertainty, but we couldn't turn back. We had a debt to pay, to the victims, to ourselves, to somehow break the hold this monstrous house held on the world. We started with a local historian, a wizened old woman who spoke of whispers surrounding the house, whispers of a dark ritual performed by its original builder, whispers of sacrifices and stolen life. Her words gave us a starting point, a glimmer of hope in the darkness. Our quest would lead us down twisted paths, into the fringes of the paranormal and the occult. We scoured dusty libraries and hidden archives, interviewed eccentric monster hunters and grizzled demonologists. Each lead, each dead end chipped away at our sanity and resources. But the chilling whispers from the house, a constant echo in our nightmares, fueled our resolve. Finally, we stumbled upon an obscure text, a leather-bound journal detailing a forgotten ritual of soul binding performed with human skin. The author, an infamous alchemist, spoke of a creature summoned from the abyss, a being of pure hunger and rage. It all aligned with the monstrous entity we felt stirring within the house. The ritual required specific artifacts scattered across the globe. A frantic chase ensued, leading us to abandoned churches in forgotten corners of Europe and treacherous black markets teeming with the macabre. With each artifact obtained, the whispers from the house grew fainter, replaced by a low, frustrated growl. The final step was the most dangerous, returning to the house. We stood before it, a crumbling monument to a dark past. Armed with the knowledge from the journal and the collected artifacts, we performed a counter-ritual, a desperate attempt to sever the connection between the house and the entity it held captive. As we chanted, the house groaned and twisted. The wallpaper, no longer concealing its macabre nature, writhed and pulsed with a sickly luminescence. The air crackled with unseen energy. The growl from within reached a deafening crescendo before abruptly cutting out. Silence descended, heavy and oppressive. We held our breaths, waiting. Then a faint, shimmering light emanated from the walls. Countless figures materialized, wispy and translucent, their hollow eyes filled with a newfound peace. With a final collective sigh, the figures disintegrated, leaving behind a faint scent of decaying roses. The house itself seemed to deflate, the unnatural darkness lifting. The floral wallpaper peeled away effortlessly, revealing the original wood beneath. It was no longer a sinister vessel of horror, but an empty shell. We stumbled outside, weak and drained. The weight of the experience had etched itself onto our souls, leaving us forever changed. But there was a sense of peace too, a feeling that we had done the right thing. The house stood empty for a while, a stark reminder of the horrors it once held. Eventually, a new family moved in, oblivious to the darkness it had witnessed. But we knew, and every time the wind howled through the trees, we couldn't help but listen, half expecting to hear a faint whisper, a chilling echo of the past. Don't peel.